Patriot is a B&M floorless coaster at California's Great America in Santa Clara, California, and in this video I will be reviewing the attraction. Vortex originally opened back in 1991. Built by Swiss manufacturer B&M, this was a stand-up coaster, and it was only B&M's second installation. And while it was only about 90 feet tall and only reached speeds of about 45 miles an hour, it was still revolutionary for that reason. And this was still a big addition, especially back in the 90s. But eventually, Cedar Fair wanted to give this ride a new look, and they did in 2017. They changed the trains from stand-up to floorless, and they gave the ride a new name and paint scheme. And one more note about the 90s and Great America, it seemed like they really liked working with B&M, because just 2 years after Vortex opened, a new B&M invert, Top Gun, now known as Flight Deck, opened to the public. This coaster was only the second B&M invert ever constructed as well. It was cool to see this park get some of the first B&Ms. Moving on to Patriot today, the ride has a very good appearance. I love the blue track, the white supports, and all the trees and flowers in front of the attraction. And if you're coming from the front entrance, the appearance of this coaster is amazing. There isn't much in terms of theming though. And I do wish there was a little more theming, but the queue line is pretty bare. But Great America has never been known for its theming. Operations on this ride, from my experience, are a mixed bag. Sometimes they get trains out pretty quick, but other times, like my last trip here, the ops were very slow. I hope that they can become more consistent in this department, having faster operations. Getting into the ride experience, you start with a left-hand turn before ascending the 90-foot tall lift hill. This leads to the ride's big drop, which, if I'm going to be honest, is kinda meh. This drop just really doesn't do anything for me. There's no forces, and because you're not very high and you're not going to be going that fast, you don't even really feel it that much. After the drop, you come to the first of two inversions, a vertical loop. Forces-wise on this loop, there isn't too much. You might get a pinch of hang time, but really don't expect too much force out of this element or the next few. After a slow overbank turn, you go through a slow helix that goes through the vertical loop. Both of these elements feel like filler to me. There's no force, there's limited visuals even, and they're really just okay. I do kinda like going through the vertical loop, but I don't care that bad. From here, you twist into the second inversion, a corkscrew. This is the whippiest element of the ride, if you can call it whippy. There's a little bit of snap through this element, but again, I just don't think Patriot is built to be a whippy attraction, and I kinda wish it had more elements with some snap to them. From here, after another turn, you just meander to the brakes. It probably feels like this coaster ended way too quick, and well, that's probably because it does. When I clocked the POV, it only had 37 seconds of prime ride time, meaning from the first drop to the final brakes, there was less than 40 seconds of actual ride. If this coaster had one more inversion or just a couple more elements, I probably would enjoy it more. Because as it stands right now, I think this coaster is okay at best. I know it was one of the first B&Ms and it opened in the 1990s, but still. It's become kind of forgettable in Great America's coaster lineup in my opinion. I think if you haven't done too many looping coasters and you're above that 54-inch height requirement that this ride has, then I do think it's a pretty good coaster to start your inversions on. Because it's not long and it's not intense. And it's very smooth, even after all these years. I do give California's Great America credit for keeping this coaster very smooth. Outside of maybe the corkscrew, you're not going to hit your head anywhere during the experience, which is greatly appreciated. Because banging your head on the restraints is never fun at all. I really do think my biggest complaint with Patriot is the length. This coaster doesn't even cross the 2,000 foot mark, which is probably why it feels short. So overall, what would I rate Patriot? I would give this B&M floorless coaster a 5 out of 10. In general, it's an alright attraction. And I still do think that you should ride it, especially if it's your first time when you're at California's Great America. So, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching.